Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Blackwell, and I am the digital learning facilitator for Pulaski County Special School District, and I help to support our Driven program in our schools. And so I'm here tonight with some amazing teachers and students, and they can turn on their cameras whenever they are ready. And I just want to introduce myself, and I'll let them kind of introduce themselves as they present tonight. This is our first time to do it virtually, which is kind of nice because none of us have masks on, so you can see us. And I just want to go over a little bit about the program because come January, it's going to be time for registration for next year. And it's a lot of information at once. And so if you already know my student is ready and they are going to be on track to do the Driven program as far as their core classes, then that's one less thing you have to worry about or try to learn about at the same time that you're learning what your schedule should look like. So I'm actually, guys, the teachers are on here. I'm gonna actually let y'all just kind of introduce yourself as you get to your slide, if that's okay. And that's the only time that your face will kind of come up on the screen whenever you're speaking. And when you're not, just make sure to mute your mic. But again, my name is Rachel Blackwell. And before we get started, I'm going to present my screen and I'm going to share a little bit of information for you or to you first. So. All right. So first of all, I want to make sure on our district website, there is some more information. If you go to our district website, to the lower right-hand corner under Big Rocks, there is a place just for Driven. And I want to make sure you are not too confused about a few things. So Driven in general has been something that's been going on in two of our high schools, Mills and Maumelle, for 3 years now, and Robinson High School last year. And then it's also, we're adding a new part to our Driven program for this next school year. So you can see here on the website, it describes a little bit better. So Driven is Pulaski County Special School District, two-part innovation model to learning. And so that way you can kind of hear, because I know on the news and you'll get information and you might see it on social media about our Driven Virtual Academy. That's also part of Pulaski County Special School District. But we have our schools of opportunity in 3 of our high schools. And tonight we're talking about Maumelle High School. And then you'll also hear about our virtual academy, which will be 100% virtual. So I just want to make sure that you kind of get the gist of those two things, because I know when you hear the names are similar, but it's just because that's kind of our innovation model. And we wanted to make sure and keep that there. So without further ado, I'm going to let the teachers kind of take over. And like I said, if y'all, the teachers and students, as y'all get ready to speak, if y'all don't mind to unmute your mic, introduce yourself, and then I don't mind to guide the slideshow. And I will also watch the chat. So parents and students, as you're on tonight, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions in the chat. And I'll be kind of moderating those. I'll either interrupt so they can answer the question then, or at the end of our presentation, we'll make sure and answer all of those. So feel free to do that and if you have any questions. All right, so whoever is ready to get started, unmute and go. Let's go for it.
Hey, Rachel.
Hi, I'll just start us off. My name is Katrina Jones. I teach science and I teach all of the sciences in the Driven program. And I just want to welcome everybody here tonight and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your interest in our program. Driven is an awesome opportunity for students to be able to be in charge of their own learning, because as we all know, everybody learns in different ways and at a different pace. And so being a part of the Driven program allows students the opportunity to be able to do that. As a teacher in the program, one of our main jobs is basically to facilitate and to instruct and to provide those hands-on opportunities for the students to make the program so that it is catered for each individual student. So it's different from the traditional classroom in that students are more in control of the pace and the time and even in the location in which they will be getting their instruction. So before we dive into this presentation here, before I get ahead of myself, we're just gonna each introduce ourselves, I guess, as we talk about the slideshow. But what you're seeing here in front of you is an example of students giving a presentation over at the middle school in the previous year. You're also looking at a classroom where students do what we call free flow. Now, unfortunately, this year due to COVID, we are not able to free flow due to concerns with COVID. So students are following their traditional schedule. However, once that is behind us, we will go back to free flow. So free flow is an opportunity for students to be able to go to whichever classroom that they feel comfortable with. Once they scan in and take their own attendance, which we'll get to a little bit later, then if they feel more comfortable, say in Ms. Childers' classroom where the couches are, then that may be where they choose to learn. Because again, Driven is for each individual student, tailored to their individual learning style. So I'm going to be quiet and I'll let my colleagues speak and the students.
Hey, Rachel, can we progress the slide? Isaiah? Okay, go back one more, Rachel. That was Isaiah. Okay. All right, so in Driven, learning is reimagined. We like to think that we took the way that learning and we applied it to modern day and what we know about students and their individual needs. No longer is it just the cookie cutter type of learning style where every kid gets the same instruction. We know that every student is unique and that every student has individual needs. And one of the great things about Driven is that we have our students for numerous years, and so we get to know their best learning style. And so students do not progress unless they meet the current level of mastery. And so their classmates, they're not hindered by classmates that maybe haven't mastered something and they're just waiting for the teacher to move on, or in a class where maybe they haven't gotten all the skills and the teacher has moved on. So they don't have that foundation that they need in order to get the skills to have the next section and to master the next section. And that's really important in math, science, and all these subjects where you have to build upon one another. And we want them to reach their full potential. And so we really reimagine learning. Okay, the next person. Andrew, this is your slide. Just unmute.
Okay, so in Driven, we focus on many necessary core knowledge designed to provide lifelong success. Driven promotes a flexible, challenging, exciting, personalized, supportive, and student-centered curriculum. The transition from middle school to high school can be very challenging and stressful, but Driven makes the transition easier as you have more flexibility and you can self-pace. Self-pacing has allowed me to speed up on the easier material and slow down on the harder material.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Coach Hall here. I'm a basketball coach at Maumelle High School as well as a math teacher. Guys, Driven, it's got a rigorous program. Okay, it's more self-paced. I believe it really helps prepare you for college. We're one of 3 campuses around PCSSD that offer the Driven program. So, and we're just kind of a school within a school. We have our own hallway. We're all right there side by side. We're kind of a family. As each teacher has a list of mentors and mentees that we make sure throughout the year kind of staying on pace. And like I said, it's just kind of self-paced and it's kind of for every student. We have everyone from band kids to athletes. So it's a program for everyone and every kid and kind of just a self-paced program. I believe it's a great program.
Isaiah?
I'm sorry. Hello, I'm Isaiah. And so, what is Driven School of Opportunity? Driven is a blended learning program that combines in-person and online learning to prepare students for college and career. Students are able to complete coursework in their own and with the assistance of highly qualified teachers. Also, Driven students have the opportunity to gain multiple credits in the school year. I would say Driven is a wonderful, flexible program. So, because I am one of the drum majors of our high school, and anytime that I'm caught up in a class, I have the ability to go down to the band room and practice on any type of performance I have coming up, such as our region or any other things. So I would say that Driven is very flexible and a wonderful program.
Hey, everybody. Coach Chambers here, one of the football coaches in Driven English. And I'm going to piggyback off of what Isaiah talked about briefly, and it's the piece about flexibility in the program. The kids can, just for instance, there's a young lady in the program now, at the start of the year was in 11th grade English, and she is now finished with 11th and 12th grade English. So she was a committed student, driven, if you want to use that. And she has finished her high school English already in less than a year, basically about a half a year. So that flexibility piece is really, I think, what attracts a lot of kids. And I think that's one of the attractions to this type of platform, this type of program.
Next slide, please.
Oh, so what makes Driven unique? And I didn't get to explain who I was earlier. I'm Tracy Childers, and I'm the social studies teacher. This is my third year in Driven. I love the program. I have fought to stay in the program. It is amazing. And so one of the things that we said earlier that makes Driven unique and special is that we meet students where they are in their current level of mastery. And I started to talk about this earlier. For instance, in math, you get students that might be deficient in certain parts of math that makes it difficult for them to go on. Well, in a traditional math class, the class would just go on without them, and the instruction would never deal with those deficiencies. But in Driven, you have to have that basic core, and there is no moving on until you have mastered those frameworks. And that's another benefit of having the mentor teacher and knowing your teachers and having them for multiple years. Our students are required to meet the processes, the skills, and the frameworks. They have to completely finish the course. I've been a social studies teacher for nearly 20 years, and I've never finished an entire course of social studies. And so that really helps, that kids actually finish an entire course. It is rigorous, it is challenging, and it's designed to prepare students for college and career. College has moved to online platform. Even if you're in person, it's all online, and it's self-motivated and it's self-directed. And you go in and you check in with your professor, and they give you feedback. And so it's more set up like a college, what we see in college today. All Driven courses are pre-AP. And I know that somebody had a question just a second ago, and I think it was, can they choose what classes they want to take? Well, Driven is your core classes. Driven will be your math. And so we have students that, like, traditionally, ninth grade will be Algebra 1. 10th grade will traditionally be Algebra 2 now, and then geometry. And then for their senior year, we have some students that take pre-cal, some that take trig, some that take Algebra 3. And so by that, they can choose the classes that they're going to take. They still will go to their electives in the regular school building, but in Driven, it's our core classes. Hopefully I've addressed that good enough.
Okay. Again, I'm Miss Jones. I'm the science teacher. And I know, just to kind of clarify, in case this hasn't been addressed sufficiently, in Driven, students are taking their core classes. So when we say core, we're talking about their math, English, science, and social studies. And so they come to the Driven hallway, which we're all located, as Coach Hall stated earlier, we're all on one hallway. So the students are able to free flow into their English, math, science, and social studies classes, all right there together on the same hallway. So there's that flexibility there, because we're all in close proximity. Also, we each mentor your student from the time they are in ninth grade all the way through graduation. In fact, we made it one of our goals to be able to be the ones to hand your student their diploma when they actually graduate from college, because we, the mentor teachers, are the ones who know your student the best, because we have that special relationship with them because we are their support teacher, and we mentor a certain number of students throughout the course of their high school career. So again, we don't hold students back. You have some students who progress a little bit faster than others, some who work just a little bit slower. But as their mentor teacher, we give them a goal and we tell them, you need to be at this % completion in order to make it through your course on time. And then we provide that facilitation that they need to be able to be successful. As Ms. Childers mentioned, with regards to the curriculum, it is a rigorous curriculum. It is delivered through the Edgenuity platform. That's our platform for instruction. So students complete the state approved curriculum. And we also make sure that they master that curriculum, because one of the things that's unique and Driven is that we give students multiple opportunities to master those concepts. It's not a one and you're done. We work with those students until they are able to master that concept. And then again, they can spend either additional time working on that challenge and instructional material, or they can accelerate on through, as we have several students who have already, we have a student this year who will be graduating. This is the third year for Driven, but she will be graduating this year. And I think we have one of the students who is on as a panelist who coasted right through, and that would be Jessalyn. She's on the panel if you have any questions of her. So anyway, that's one of the things that makes Driven unique and different, is that we're flexible. We're all right there. We're one big happy family, and we are there for your student from the time they start high school until they graduate.
Hey, Jess, turn your mic up, please.
Jessalyn, we can't hear you, sweetie.
Hey, we'll get hers fixed. I'd like for y'all to hear from her. She has been a great success story from ninth grade on, as Miss Jones alluded to. So let's see if she can get hers. Yeah, she said log in and log back out. All right, so the Driven expectations, and I'll give Jessie a little bit of time in just a little bit. We have high expectations in Driven. Their mentor teacher and the student, they must be committed to their learning. They have goals, as Ms. Jones said. They have to achieve these goals, and they have to finish their course within the semester. that's the way that it is. And we try to meet with them once a week. This year has obviously been extremely challenging, but we're trying to make it through. And students are expected to work towards and meet course completion goals that are set throughout the year. Since the course pretty much ends at semester, for students that are just pacing themselves to finish that semester, they have to be finished. Students that want to work ahead, of course, they can, complete as many courses in the semester as they can. Students have to be self-disciplined, and they have to be committed to learning in this blended learning model. And for some students, it was difficult at first, but that's about the self-discipline, and that's about kind of like when you go off to college, your freshman year, a lot of students don't succeed because they don't know how to be self-disciplined. So we like to think of ourselves as like the first step before they go to college. And a lot of our students will be extremely successful in college because they have developed this self-discipline, and they have shown commitment to learning, and they know that about deadlines, and they know not to procrastinate, and they know about getting projects done. Okay, I guess her thing isn't working. Okay.
Rachel, can you advance to the next slide?
Hopefully
So
Jessie can get her sound back on here in just a second.
Okay.
This is Rachel again. I'm going to share something real quickly. So I love that I was reading some of the questions here, some of the comments. So I love that they address about your classes that you take, that those are your 4 core classes. So here are some 4 questions, or a few questions that have been asked before. And so if one of them, or if the teachers want to speak up about these, they can. So talking about if your student is not in a pre-AP direction, that's not what they want to take, because we mentioned that all classes are pre-AP. Is Driven only going to accept students who are gifted, talented, or pre-AP students? So do one of y'all want to address that, or how do you want?
I will. Driven accepts all students. Anybody can apply to be in Driven. Although our curriculum is pre-AP. It is rigorous. We want to extend the same opportunities, the same challenging material that all students deserve. And we accept every student. As what's going to come up in just a second is we have students with IEPs, we have students with 504 plans. We can individualize the curriculum. And that's one of the great features of Driven also, is that the curriculum in Edgenuity or whatever platform we will use, is we can tailor it to each student. And, if they need additional help, we can add in what they're deficient in. If they have mastered a particular subject, we can, take away from that. And so we accept every student, and we have numerous examples of all students from all placement levels succeeding in Driven.
Yeah, Ms. Childers, let me piggyback on that if I can.
Chambers.
I'm sorry, Ms. Blackwell, go ahead. I was gonna piggyback on what Ms. Childers said about the kids with IEPs, and it's been my experience over the last year and a half or two that those guys do pretty well in the program, and they typically end up finishing before some of the other students without the challenges.
That's such a good point. So I love that y'all have talked about that. It could be for GT, for students with IEPs. So if they want to take advanced placement courses in their high school, how is that going to work in Driven? That's one of the questions that have been asked before. We want to make sure and address that.
So currently we have students who are taking advanced placement classes as well as concurrent credit classes. And again, the beauty of Driven is that it allows you that flexibility so that students can work at their own pace. Once students get through, let's say they get through all of their social studies classes and decide that they want to go into what we call a brick and mortar class outside of the Driven hallway, to take an AP course. We encourage that, and we are able to fit that into their schedule so that not only are they taking their driven courses, but they are also taking AP classes that could transfer into college credit, provided they make a 3, 4, or 5 on their AP exam at the end of the course. Additionally, we also have some students who are enrolled in concurrent credit courses. One of my mentees is currently enrolled in both a college algebra class as well as a college biology class. So she is actually taking 2 courses through UALR while she is in the driven program. So these students are excelling because they're able to work at their own pace, get their core work done in school, and they go ahead and start earning their college credits more quickly because this style of learning, driven program, is tailored to them so that they can work at their own pace and achieve their goal and earn credits before they ever even graduate from high school.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned about the AP classes because they are college board classes. Our teachers are all qualified, but you got to realize they're teaching multiple contents at once. And so the AP classes, we've kind of made sure those were in the brick and mortar just so that the teachers can help focus, but they are definitely there to support. And so last question, whoever wants to grab this one, is about, and I think Coach Hall kind of addressed this, is it possible for them to participate in other things outside of like band and sports, all that? How does that work with Driven?
I'll take honors to answer this question. Yes, it's possible. You know, me being in band, it's possible. I feel like that's one thing. The best thing about Driven is because all the time, you know, say for instance that, you know, you have, for example, sometimes we have marching contests, and you know, sometimes we have homework that is due at 12 o'clock at night, and in Driven you don't have any due dates like, oh, I'm going to get a 0 on this because I didn't turn it by a certain amount of time or a certain due date. So I would say that is the best thing about being in Driven and deal with band and sports and other things outside of school.
Andrew or Jessalyn, did y'all want to speak to that real quick too? That was an awesome answer, Isaiah.
I can add in that, like, say you play sports or you're in the band and you have an event that's going on, like you were allowed to skip class as long as you're ahead and you tell that your mentors and teachers about it, because sometimes we'll have like after school practices or after school events that take place straight after, and we wouldn't have time to just go home and then come back. So we can like usually take off some class time to go do those activities.
Yeah, those are all really great points on just ways that you can be flexible. You can work some of the weekends if you need to, and that way you can focus on that. And so these are some pictures of students in the setting, and I think Miss Jones focused on these about the projects of Free Flow and Time Station, but if you don't mind, maybe I'll just kind of speak up about this one more time just to kind of clarify for parents.
Rachel, were you asking about free flow?
Yes.
I'll put my 2 cents in on free flow. So I think Ms. Jones or someone touched on it earlier that if the students are where they need to be percentage wise and things of that nature, then they have an opportunity to go to whichever class that they feel the most comfortable in. Everybody has a teacher that they like to go to. All students everywhere have a place they like to go. So that's offered through the Driven program. So if a kid is on track, or students on track, they could go to anyone's room in the hallway, and basically you could stay there all day. If that's where your learning wants to take place, then that's where it'll take place.
Yeah, and let me get add to that. Free flow. Let's say, for instance, a student has difficulty in math. they could go to Coach Hall's class for extra attention and for extra help. And so that is really, I mean, ultimately they could have math. We limit free flow for three periods a day. And so they could essentially have math 3 times a day, which is a big need and a big help to a lot of students that may be struggling or have some deficiencies. And when they free flow, if you look below, there is a time station. That is the time station app that is actually an iPad that is right by the door in all of our classes. Students are assigned a 4-digit code. This is pre-COVID, and they would just put in their code when they entered the class, use the code to exit class, and that way their teacher will know where they are and can keep track of them. It's like it's their attendance page.
They like to use that to fix their hair sometimes too, Miss Childers.
That's funny. Yeah, I like those time stations because that way when the teachers or when somebody in the office calls, it's not like, where's this student at? They know exactly where they are because they can see where they've been. All right, and this is when we actually, so we have to apply for, to get recognized as a school of innovation. And so we actually applied in the year 2018. They came out, they monitored, they gave us feedback on how to improve the program. And then in October 2019 at the conference for innovative schools, Maumelle got the distinguished or the award for School of Innovation. So that was really exciting. And so that's something, again, we have support from the state for that, as well as the Office of Innovation out of Fayetteville to help us as well. And these are all pre-COVID pictures. So that's why we're all mask free in these. If you are interested in participating in this, if this is something you're interested in, make sure and go to this bit.ly. And whenever we send out this video recording, we'll also include the link for this. This is just saying, hey, this is something I'm interested in. Somebody asked in the chat if there's a capacity. Right now, there's not. We usually try to keep about 100 new students, but this year we're trying to build the program up a little bit more. So we're definitely open right now for any students who are interested in 9th or currently in 9th or 8th grade, going to be next year 9th or 10th graders. But this bit.ly, make sure it's case sensitive. So it's a lowercase PCSSD and the uppercase driven. And that will send you to our district website where you can apply for Maumelle High School driven. And the counselor will look at this whenever you fill out your registration. She'll know, okay, even though this student is filling it out or filling out the registration, they want to be in the driven program. So we'll make sure that gets set up. So please make sure and fill out this bit.ly if you're interested. Again, we'll send this to you in an email just in case you're not able to get this down tonight. And then as well, myself, Rachel Blackwell, or Ms. Childers will be happy to answer any other questions that you have. But I'm gonna leave this one up for the last slide. Oh, Jessie told us, oh, we really wanted to talk to her, but her mic is not working.
Hi, my name is Jessalyn. Unfortunately, I was not able to be on the Zoom and talk to everyone there, but I just wanted to say that I think that this is really an amazing program. For me, I completed 2 years of high school in one. My first year in 9th grade, I did my 9th grade and 10th grade year. And then in my 10th grade year, I did my 11th and most of my 12th grade year. And I just have one class left, my math class. So I'm 16 and almost about to graduate this year. I'm taking one class. And I just think that this is a great program for people who want to work ahead and maybe finish some classes early. But it is also a very good program for people who want to stay on pace, because I know a lot of times people get left behind and they get bad grades in their regular brick and mortar classes because they don't understand a concept or they don't grasp it, so they just move along with everybody else because there's not one-on-one relationship with the teacher, and so they just get left behind. In the Driven program, you get to work with your teacher until you get it. If you don't get it, you can ask for help. You get to, you have the flexibility to stay in like a math class. So you don't have to go to your English class and then go to your science, then go to your history. You can go to your math, then go to your math, then go to your math. If you're not understanding math, because you have that flexibility to go where you're needed. So if you're ahead in history, you don't have to go to your history class. You can go to the class that you are struggling in and that you need help in. And so in this program, you really do have to have self-discipline as well. You can't come into the program thinking that it's just all play, fun, and games, because you do have to work and have the motivation in yourself to work, hence the name Driven. So I do think this is an amazing program, and it has helped me so much to get where my goal is. I'm working right now. I wouldn't be able to do that if I was still doing my classes. And so I just think it's an amazing program.
Thank y'all so much for your for being here tonight. For any attendees, thank you for your questions, and I hope we've answered all your questions to the best of our ability. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Again, Ms. Childers' email address is there. You can find it if you go to mhs@pcscu.org under staff, so you can see her there. But there's her email address, and there's mine if you're interested in anything or have any other questions.